Chapter 18. Negative Original First Being Spirit. I mentioned earlier that the original first being, male and female, removed about a third of their energy to create new beings, and that approximately 97% of its original negative frequencies was removed. Since it was a 27.5% negative frequency spirit to begin with, the new, cleaner, large field of original first being spirit was now less than 1% negative. The other newly separated field of original's new first being negativity is called just that, original first being negativity. This new negative energy field contains negative frequencies from all the different fields of essence, and more is very strong spirit. In order to be able to control it, first being has decided it should never have or be allowed to have frequent lives. That would only make it stronger. The first being halves came to this conclusion after watching Era and Lily growing from having lives in the very beginning, realizing that negative vibration frequencies were strong to start with. They knew the negative frequency beings would become a big problem for them in a short amount of time. There are many times when these beings are released to have a life. There is often mention of these so-called antichrists in Christian religion. They were and are beings of the original first being negative spirit. They've done a lot of harmful things to others on a large scale. One of these negative beings in the body right now is in the Middle East and is continuously being transported under heavy guard protection through Afghanistan, Jordan, Syria, and other nearby regions. There were actually 4 original first being negative frequency beings put into physical body in the 5th and now 6th ages. The 5th age actually ended on December 21st, 2012. And the 6th one started the next day. The 4th negative being was born in the 5th age, so he's allocated to the 5th age. They were in the bodies of Napoleon, Hitler, Charles Manson, and this new guy. Some people think Stalin was one of them, but he was actually a spiritual traveler who was made to do what he did by the original female and male beings. He's been cleaned and stored in a healing chamber by Era. If you could have seen the amount, size, and power level of abuse frequencies in Stalin, your heart would sink like a rock in a tank. I've mentioned I've never seen such abuse in anyone's spirit. He'll be finished after healing. After Era gets out of his body, Era has many repairs to make and healing to do. Creation has been severely damaged. Negative original first being spirit is not the catastrophe you might expect. it is very powerful, but as it was in the beginning, but it has never grown because it was never allowed almost no lives. There were negative souls that posed as much larger threat than they did, and as they were allowed so many lives and were about 87 or 97% aggressive negative frequency on July 10, 2012 at about 10:25 p.m. Most of them were killed. This all took about 3 seconds. Spirit is very fast. Remember, you can astral project across the universe and back in 9 seconds. The negative souls, together with the original first being, male and female, as well as some negative original first being spirit, attacked me and were destroyed. They reached into my body, as was done one other time, and squeezed my heart. I literally felt like a massive heart attack, but you can feel and see a hand squeezing it. Once something attacks my body with intent to kill, error finally gets involved. Only 2/3 of the original first being, male and female spirit, was killed. A portion of each of them was kept away from me in order to keep some alive. In May of 2013, both of them were finally destroyed completely. It took so much out of me that my spirit turned into something a little different. It freaked out the NSA, as they couldn't read my energy on their satellites properly anymore. They were on my radar property the next day. That's also when Era's sword spirit evolved into something else from the stress of having to do this through the physical body. He's now stronger, but his energy is a little like the energy in the first dimension. Once assimilated and understood, it gave this new energy to all animal essence for their unbounded devotion throughout creation's history. There was a large field of negative original first being spirit maintained by a council of non-aggressive spirits. They did a good job of keeping things under control over there. Guarding this field of negative original first being spirit was the main body of Lucifer. That's right. The one your religions call the devil is actually the one protecting you from negativity. There's more truth from your religions. This field of negative spirit is now greatly diminished in size. In the July 10, 2012 battle, Era destroyed 2/3 of the original first being, male and female, and then went to the field of negative original first being spirit, demolishing almost all of it. He then did the same with the other side of negative souls, as they were involved also. Luke, like the part of Lucifer that had been broken off to guard the field of negative souls, protected about 6,800 of the non-aggressive ones. The rest, almost 500 million, were destroyed because Era is attached to a physical body and these beings were literally trying to kill it. Era had the accepted right to protect himself, as they see things on the other side. He was in the right to do what he did again. This was part of the need for Era to be in a body one last time. This negative spirit did nothing wrong. To be made the way it was, I feel sorry for it. It was merely part of the original first being that was separated. It was not its fault being what it was. What creates the negative frequencies is now known and will be deleted soon after Era is released from this body. There's really not much more to be said about this. Chapter 19, Gaira and the Lives on Her. Gaira is the name we use to address the very first planet to have life on her. She is indeed special. Gaira's physical mass was 270 times that of Jupiter. Is that large or what? Gaira's days were much longer than ours due to her size. Era and Lily had over 4 trillion lives on Gaira. They had the first few 100 million lives before anything or one else. Animal essence was the next to follow, and then the original first being have felt ready to bring the human and fae essences into bodies so they could practice giving the essences lives, setting them up, running them, and getting them ready to release the souls. An average life on Gaira was relative to about 438 years or so years as we have them here. This was due to the larger size of the planet, the bodies being made, and the environment. At first, it was a very hostile place. The first life ever lasted about 10 hours, as we would measure in a 24-hour day. But on Gaira's time frame, Lily and Era enjoyed the first night together, and then, while going to a field to eat some fruit, were attacked by a large flock of what looked like velociraptors. Era and Lily were very strong themselves, but not able to deal with all of them for so long. They were in humanoidish bodies with dragon DNA. There's a new word for you, humanoidish. I was relaxing and listening to Enya's album, A Day Without Rain, and when I was suddenly with Lily on Gaira, our first life, we were relaxing in what I vaguely saw to be human bodies, just looking into the sky and seeing all the galaxies forming like burning embers in the sky. As you might guess, the song that was playing was called Burning Embers. I later realized that the image I saw of the bodies was not the true form we were in. I set my mind to see the true image. I needed the truth, but seeing the actual bodies we were in ruined the memory I had with Lily that first night. Oh well, the feeling were there, just different bodies. Kira eventually exploded, and all the lives on her were extinguished. This was made to happen by the original male and female first beings. They said they brought this about to understand the worst case scenario of having life. That was only partially true. I later went into their focal points, which are what spirits have for brains, and saw that they just wanted to make all the spirit and body on the planet grow larger through physical abuse. Gira was filled with the most beautiful of foliage, lakes, rivers, and creatures of all sorts. There was a little less water in her oceans than the earth, but many lakes spread throughout her land masses made up the difference. As Gira's size was so large, so was her spirit's energy. This lady was very strong, no doubt about that. Her spirit is in all the Esnite and Star Esnite on this planet, as well as a few others. Her spirit is still within small pieces of her planet sent here and will flow from her stone into you, increasing your own spiritual power level up to 1600% at your body's core energy or kundalini, which moves inside and outside up your spine, up and down your body. You can learn more about it at starsnight.com. Gira has been here helping Gaia, the spirit of Earth, for over 2 billion years now. She first came here in mass about 2.14 billion years ago as part of the mass of a star that had blown up and gathered some of her planet's material on its way here. She also came here in 4 large pieces from her planet about 1.34 billion years ago. 3 large pieces hit the area now called the southeastern United States, and 1 piece hit the New England area. Star Esnite is widely dispersed throughout the planet's surface area, but the material with the strongest energy is found in the southeastern United States. The planetary essence spirit called Gira is working with Era now to bring hard change here. Chapter 20. Time to release the souls. Soul is by far the largest field of spirit. Souls vastly outnumber the beings in the fields of essence. They were made to create a family to praise the original first being halves. There were so many souls released that they outnumbered essence 11 to 1. This ratio was used intentionally by the original ones. They were much more concerned with themselves than family. The number 11 always meant to represent them, because the numeral 11 looks like the two who would stand next to each other in complete control. The number 1 mother and the number 1 father equaled 11, or mother and father. This is also why many bad things were meant to happen on the 11th. The original mother and father wanted to prove that they were in control of everyone and their lives. This helped inspire everyone to praise them. That's falling away now. They had already released so much of their own spirit that they had to make the souls much smaller pieces of themselves. This created no problems, as they knew the souls would grow into large spirit beings after having had enough lives, as well as being easier to manage while they were smaller. They learned about spirit growing from having lives through the hardships endured by Lily and Hera, as well as the first 100 million or so lives of the fields of essence. So soul spirit was a large mass of the original first beings that was released in order to eventually release smaller pieces of its own soul spirit. The waves of spirit released from the original first being, male and female, were human and fey only. The wave was released in two directions as they tried to separate human from fey soul energy. The wave was spread out so thin before it settled down into small individual orbs that each individual orb wound up becoming a small individual separate fragment of the original energy. This would increase the number of souls produced without diminishing the original first being, male and female's size, to a dangerous level. Remember, they needed to maintain dominion over everything and one. There were a total of 5 waves of spirit released, with a heck of a lot of time between. Time exists everywhere, but the measurement of time differs from one place to another. There is a chronological order to things, but as spirit, we can easily move through time just as we physically move through water. Now it's time we talk about the origin of negative frequency souls. Throughout the ages, people have argued and wondered about this. Many priests have had to deal with this question. Their religions just say it always existed. Now there's one heck of a big hole in your understanding. Where did these negative frequency souls come from? They're from the original first beings, of course. Here's how it happened. The first being was 27.5% negative vibration, as mentioned earlier. When the wave was released, whatever came out, came out. This is why there are positive frequency, often called light people, and there are negative frequency, often called dark people. I prefer not to use the terms light and dark in this manner because darkness, such as night or color, is not a negative thing. Imagine you have a gallon container filled with water, but 27.5% of it was actually vinegar. If you shook up, well, poured it into a squirt gun and shot it, you would get mostly water drops out of it. However, a small portion would be mostly vinegar. It's not the vinegar's fault. It's just the luck of the draw. And it's not very good luck at that. No energy has ever been turned negative. No soul has ever been punished or put in that mystery place called hell, where it's supposedly tortured forever. Why would you need that when you have all the abuse and creation presently for already? when a soul is 17% negative or less, a visiting spirit is not allowed in the body, whether the body asks for it or not. This is law, not just fact. When a person is 27% negative or more, a free roaming negative soul might come up to it and ask to come inside. When it does, trouble begins for many. That's why it was allowed to happen at all in the first place. It fit the abuse format of the original male and female. Soon this will not be allowed to happen at all. Here again is another positive change coming for all of us. Once in the body, the visiting soul will move into the core energy or kundalini, and the original soul will move to just inside and outside the skin, almost like an aura. The original soul can still partially run the body, but it has a hard time doing so. The core is a power point of the body. For all intents and purposes, the spirit will run this body as it sees fit until it is taken out, as long as it's stronger than the soul in it. Remember, negative frequencies are strong. It won't want to go into a body where the resident soul is stronger than it. This soon becomes a lesson for the body's soul because it has allowed the visiting negative soul to cause issues for both itself and others nearby. Can you say exorcism? At first, this was not allowed to happen for long. It was originally designed to stress the soul as it learned about having no control over its body. More soul growth serum, so to speak. It was almost like forcing steroids into the spirit. Later, the person's angels who were supposed to get the negative spirits out weren't told to do so by the original first being halves as quick as they should have been. Eventually, its allowable time in another body was extended, allowing for more abuse. This caused harm to many. The visiting soul can be ripped out of the person by one of his personal angels or a spirit on the other side. It's a little bit like an Ouija board or a book. Using them allows any spirit near it on the other side to come through, and the current law says your spirit guides and angels can't do a thing about it. They have to just stand there and let it happen. The difference is that the negative spirit isn't running your body, just bothering you. That's actually why some high frequency or high vibration people don't like Ouija boards at all. They feel the problem they represent. As mentioned earlier, I tried to refrain from saying light and dark, as these are not true descriptions, and they also misleading. The Black Panther spirit animal guide given to me from birth is one of the most powerful beings I've ever met. If you think darkness or the color black is negative, you will have incorrect thought processes that lead you toward prejudice and arrogance, not truth. A soft black color is what you get when you mix all the colors there are together. We've all had lives in the different skin colors, religions, etc. Once we can see this for ourselves, prejudice will all but be a thing of the past, as it should be. A being's percentage of negative frequency or vibration, as many say, is due to what was in them as they came out of the soul spirit wave. Approximately 56% of all souls were released with 17% negative vibration. They are simply what came out of the first being, male and female. Where do you think negativity came from? All spirit or sentient energy came from the original first being. There are 4 new first being type energy fields growing in the first dimension right now. They are carefully watched on a continuous basis. Everything has had protection since the beginning. It is the primary protocol of Aramelian spirit. As each wave of soul spirit was released, it spread outward. For some reason, the Fey souls were pushed to the left and the human souls were pushed to the right. There were more human souls produced than Fey. About 2/5 were Fey and 3/5 were human. This was due to the fact that they were slightly more human type spirit in the original first being than Fey. Here's where something interesting happened that is beneficial to everyone today. In between the 2 fields of soul spirit were a good number of souls who didn't separate into Fey or human. This is how close the human and Fey are to each other. We're more like brother and sister than cousins. I call these souls Fey men, and they are a bit of both. There will be new bodies for almost all spirit to have lives in. They will be more like those of the Fae, in that they will maintain a form of thick energy or very soft body. You'll be able to move through physical objects, but you will not maintain a physical shape for long. To maintain a physical body, you have to consume physical nutrients in the form of physical dense nutrition. It can only come from the physical mass of others, like animals or plants. Plants are living beings. Here, as we discussed earlier, the lack of physical body is how 72 to 78% of all abuse in lives will be erased. This is how we will bring a proper sense of justice and equality to creation as well. Nothing is better than anything else. We can improve ourselves, but at the end of the day or life, we are no better than anyone else in creation's eye, so to speak. This includes Source, maybe more so than the rest.